Fundamentally, Abhijit, do you think the next course of action for India would be to continue to shine that light on these elements in Canada and look at the FATF actions on Canada, as some reports suggest India may be willing to do?
Yes, I think there are a lot of options left right now. I don't think we've exercised those options. Because remember, one of the very cryptic remarks that the foreign minister made, which Pinak also alluded to, is the political interference. I'm sure that the diplomats are being tailed, their conversations with secessionist elements in India are being recorded. And remember, some of it is actually aiding and abetting direct criminal activity. There is gun running that happens in Punjab. There is drug smuggling that happens in Punjab. And you know crime is fungible. One kind of crime always leads to another kind of crime. So I'm waiting to see what that evidence is. For what my own sources tell me is there is a significant overlap between Canadian political contacts and criminal activity out here more than Khalistan. I think for the local audience, Khalistan will be talked up because that's easier to understand. But I think the real juice will be in where Canadian diplomats here are essentially meeting drug runners and drug and gun runners.
Before we get Dean back, and we're continuing to try to do that, Pinak Ranjan Chakravarty, the question that I also have for you, and question that many may be asking, that giving it to the Trudeau administration that seems to be particularly, grinding an axe against India, or maybe caught in its own web of political interlocutions, is separate. But India should not, of course, go down a path where this relationship, which is an ally relationship, gets destroyed to a point of no return. Where do you see this ending? Do you see that the relationship will fundamentally change once this administration is no longer in power? Or do you believe that this is the worst that we've ever seen, and it could become worse from here?
Well, firstly, I think the opposition leader in Canada has already called out Prime Minister Trudeau, saying that he's the wrecker-in-chief in terms of our relationship is concerned. I do see this thing finally behind us in the forthcoming future. Perhaps after Justin Trudeau loses the next election and we have a new government. That is one benchmark that can be done. And all the difficulties and the pain that is being caused to various people on both sides. And I think Canadian voters must be also thinking that what kind of a prime minister we have who's wrecked this relationship by his actions. So I think they might then want to vote him out, because that could also be something that one can anticipate.
Okay.
And as far as Indian students are concerned, of course they go to Canada in large numbers, because Canada has a open immigration policies, etc., and it's a place where students want to go and study. But there are many other places. I think people can go to other places. Already some people are thinking of other destinations. And so Canada is not the only one. So I think, yes, there will be some impact. But I think ultimately we will have to go back to normal in terms of our relationship, because it's an important relationship.
No, absolutely, hopefully. Just because of one administration in a diplomatic relationship like this should not be wrecked, although there is, of course, troubling history as far as diplomacy between India and Canada is concerned. Abhijit, final comments from you as well. What is the larger message you think India has managed to give to the world at large, not just to Canada, about how to treat India?
When Pinak was referring to the last time we asked for Talvinder Singh Parmar, do you know Justin Trudeau's father's excuse for not sending Parmar over? It was that the Queen isn't your head of state and therefore we can't send him over. Now remember, we aren't the India of 1982. We don't have a balance of payments crisis. Our economy is doing very well. And Canada isn't what it was. Remember, in those days, they were supplying us with nuclear material for the Atoms for Peace program and the CANDU reactors and things like that. They had significant leverage on us. Today, we're not there. Canada just doesn't have that kind of leverage on us. I think there's a huge hangover in thinking that the India-Canada relationship of 2023 hasn't moved past 1982-83 when Pierre Trudeau was Prime Minister and Indira Gandhi was Prime Minister here. I think there's a sort of a mental attitude shift required in Ottawa, and they need to get past it. We also need to remember that Pierre is probably not going to be, Pierre Poilievre isn't going to be much better. Because remember, Tim Uppal is one of his right-hand men in Parliament and possibly going to be a minister, is just as Khalistani, if not more so, than people like Jagmeet Singh and the thugs in Trudeau's party. So, I don't think this is going anywhere irrespective of government change. The problem, of course, is that Melanie and her boss are particularly incompetent as diplomats go. But, the fellow's never really held a job. He's been a drama teacher and a bouncer. You can't expect more from them.
All right. I'll leave it on that note. Unfortunately, our Canadian guest couldn't join us back, but I do thank both Pinakji and Abhijit for joining us on our top debate.